Lucius had been manipulating the timeline of certain events. Let's begin from the start. What are the events? Let's begin with the most obvious. Julius remembers a scene in chapter 331 where he felt immense uneasiness. For example, this means a foreshadowing was placed in chapter 281. The ancient demon attacked the Clover Kingdom, and there was no one that could save them until Julius Novachronos stepped in. He advanced his body's age by 10 years, making himself 23 years old again. He states, "Both my time and abilities are limited, but if I combine my power with Damnatio's, he would be able to defeat the devil." As he is about to use chronostasis on the demon god, his transformation immediately gets undone and his time is up. Julius is shocked himself. He doesn't understand how can this happen, as he states, "I'm out of time already? Why? It's too soon." We have the answer to his question. It's because of Lucius Zogratis and Asta using his stored time magic and making it run out for their own plan. But of course, Julius is not aware of that. In chapter 143, we were told time magic allows the user to steal and store time from others, and then they use that time to accelerate, decelerate, stop, or even reverse the flow of time. This means the amount of time stored is limited, and we confirmed through the clock in the Spade Nation that time was indeed being manipulated the entire fight against Lucifero and the other devils. On top of that, this connects with our other factor regarding Julius's grimoire always being open, as it is coverless, which means Lucius and Astaroth would have access to using its power at all time. To prove this even further, take a look at chapter 143. Julius states, "Time magic has a coverless grimoire. I didn't know whether I was good or bad, but I was special, and so I thought a lot about what I might be and what I should do." Julius in his inner monologues states that he walks his own path and he became the Wizard King out of his own choice. But throughout chapter 143, he states, "Who'd have thought he had two souls in one body? So it was you, but at the same time it wasn't you?" Ironically, this is the case with himself. But to make things clear, Julius is not evil. Chapter 143 makes it way too obvious that this cannot be the case. All his inner monologues are in regard to saving the human race rather than going against it. Even in chapter 331, he tries to get himself restrained before anything bad can happen. Tabata wrote it in this way because if he made Julius the evil one, then it would have retconned and destroyed the past chapters. So instead, he is going to create a reason why Julius cannot remember that he has Lucius and Astaroth within himself. We will definitely make a future video dissecting this part of the story. So again, get this video to 30,000 likes and I'll make sure it gets done. So essentially, the grimoire was always open. That's why it was coverless, which means Lucius and Astaroth the Time Devil always had access to his grimoire to use the time magic that was stored by him for their own plan. Now, another sign that foreshadowed his true identity was his knowledge of the Weg curse. Julius was the one who explained to Asta what the Weg curse was, and that it was a sign that a mage had been drawing on forbidden magic from a world beyond their own when nobody else had this information. The only families that would have known this type of information would be the ones that had ties to devils, like Nacht Falstis family members, or if you were a host of a supreme devil yourself. Now, due to Julius's subconscious connections to Astaroth and the fact that he'd been drawing upon his magic all along, he knew about the real location of devils and how the Weg curse worked. So as we've mentioned, Julius knew about Weg magic. The rest of the magic knights and royals had no idea what it was. Actually, you know what? They didn't even know devils existed. The elves knew because they were ancient from 500 years ago and had more knowledge, but humans fell into ignorance and they did not study. When we look at Noelle, she said she only heard about devil stories from their nanny as a folklore, so people didn't even really know if they existed. But Weg magic isn't the only thing Julius knew above everybody else. He also knows how to read grimoire text. Something as ancient as that shouldn't be possible unless he has extensive knowledge. Normally, spells are written in scripts that are coherent to the mage. Spells may be written in different languages. Look at chapter 20. If they draw magic from alternative sources like devils and spirits, it has different writing. Additionally, ultimate magic that draws power from natural mana results in pages filled with runes. Now when we look at chapter 21, Julius reads Asta's anti-magic book and he's shocked at what it is, having an indication and idea to himself on what it is about, and then he pretends that he doesn't understand the devil writing within it, but he immediately knows that it was anti-magic and the function of it. He also does this with Yuno, reading his book with the wind spirit and could explain it to him what it meant. This was a huge hint that Julius knows about the Weg curse from the very beginning and can read devil spells, meaning that Lucius and Astaroth's manipulation was working at this moment. Julius then holds the anti-magic sword. He smirks to himself in a very sinister manner and then tells Asta he has no mana without Asta having to tell Julius. Asta asks him, how does he know? When he replies stating, that's a very good question. Let's answer that question using Lucius and Astaroth. From Black Clover's past, we know Asta's mother died 16 years ago. Lysita had found Lich's 5-leaf grimoire, which was near Hodge village. Remember, that is where the ancient skeleton of the ancient demon god resides, and she was outcasted to live in isolation, being a lower class citizen and due to her unique life force absorption magic. After Lysita's death, within the 5-leaf grimoire, Liber had been stuck in there by her for safety and to avoid Lucifero. But in those years, Liber had unlocked anti-magic, changing the book's magic completely. But since we know for a fact that Liber was stuck in the book for 15 years and no one could claim the book due to its anti-magic properties, he would have to wait for Asta to grow up until he was 15 to claim it. And then the grimoire could attach itself to his soul, as grimoire are predestined to those it has chosen. Lucius and Astaroth would have known the location of the book through planning the betrayal of Lucifero, wanting to claim his devil heart for his plan. Therefore, he would have found out about Lucifero's attempt to leave the underworld by using Liber. That would then give him the location of a 5-leaf grimoire, and we know for a fact Julius was curious. Julius admitted that in his curiosity he found the swallowtail, the first Wizard King's device from 500 years ago. That gave him a rune on his head that revived him, so the plot threads have already been set in place. So now when you read chapter 1 again, it's been recontextualized. You will see that the 5-leaf grimoire that Liber was stuck in, it's actually inside a wall in Hodge village, near the location it would have been when Lysita died. Why would such a unique grimoire be placed there if it wasn't by someone? How did it get into the wall? And why would someone hide it from Nero, as Nero had claimed she watched over the grimoire for 500 years as best as she possibly could? This means Lucius wanted to know what magic the grimoire contained, nor was it claimed. So this would then explain chapter 1. Lucius and Astaroth waited to find out who would claim that grimoire, and then when they found out Asta had obtained it, read its book, and it was anti-magic, he smirked and immediately knew the truth behind it all. This can also be hinted in chapter 146, when Julius plans to build a new future. He thinks of Asta because he has good intentions and wants to change the classism and the society for the better. But now, this also implies for Lucius, as he used Asta's magic for his own plan. When we look into this even further, the whole dungeon incident already had a suspicious start, where Julius is the one who specifically sends both Asta and Yuno to investigate this newly appeared dungeon bordering the Diamond Kingdom. In the dungeon, both Asta and Yuno find convenient tools for their powers just laying dormant inside the dungeon. This whole thing is almost invert of what happened to Xenon. One thing Tabata loves is to use duality and checkered patterns for Asta and Yuno, but the main takeaway from this is that Xenon and Alan are the counterparts of Yuno and Asta. So the dungeon incident ended with Xenon killing his best friend and the devil inside the dungeon, who was planted by none other than Lucius himself, considering his connections to the devils. Invert that and you get Asta and Yuno going to the dungeon and instead finding something that will make them walk the wrong path forever. They find convenient tools specifically catered to their powers. Another strange fact to prove that the sword was moved is that 500 years ago Licht still had the Demon Dweller sword. So how the hell did it end up in a dungeon during that time?
That don't make no sense.
The only explanation that exists is the fact that it was moved there by someone during that time. Even if it was somehow moved by coincidence to the dungeon, it was already tainted with anti-magic somehow, and it was put in the same dungeon as Belle. And then when you break it down even further, when Yuno first interacted with Belle, time had stopped.
You don't find that suspicious?
And Yuno and Belle could still interact with each other, but everyone else was stopped. How? It was Lucius.
Oh yeah. It's all coming together.
Now at this point of the video, I want to shout everyone on Twitter that helped us make this video, by the way. You, yes you, and you. They helped us find another sign during the Royal Knights arc. Julius brings the idea up of a unconscious betrayal. However, during that arc, it was hinted at being Langris, which was true by the way. But now we know that unconscious betrayal was a gut feeling presented by himself, as he realized during chapter 331 that he is the devil that saved the nation and has been using time magic from Astaroth. That's why his intuition was so sharp, as Marx puts it. And also, by the way, we saw that a lot of people are claiming that Gordon's dad foreshadowed Julius that he had the time devil all along and that there was a giant flame in the royal capital. However, this is not the case. This is not true.
It's false. No way. Not a chance. You're wrong.
The spell that Gordon's father casted was to highlight curses on a map, not devils, meaning the curse that the map picked up on was actually Charlotte and not Astaroth. But this was also part of Lucius' plan because he wanted everyone to believe that Meducula was a queen and a supreme devil that could replace Astaroth's rank in hell. So at the end of the day, Lucius made all of this into fruition, placing Meducula's curse everywhere, making all this shit happen. Now to enjoy more peak fiction, watch this video on your screen right now.